So during peak summer demand, at least here in Texas, HVAC call volume can increase 40–50%. So when companies are unprepared, the first contact resolution rate drops because overwhelmed, customer service reps, dispatchers, technicians, they can't fully resolve customer issues on the first interaction. So this results in repeat calls, delayed repairs, and a surge in negative online reviews. And we all know what, a bad review can cause. And so in this video, I want to show you how to calculate this. It's pretty straightforward, again, if you have the data. I know that getting data structured is the hardest part of all this stuff. So this is just a pretty basic data set as far as, was it resolved? So you have a line for each job, and then you have over here, was it fixed on the first contact, a call, a text, visit, whatever it might be. And so all you need is this column and the date column, and you can calculate everything. But again, I understand that this is the hard part. So assuming you have this data, then this is how you do the KPI, or if you have it in a different format, or some way that you have it where it's in a row in a spreadsheet or a database, and in that same row is a date. Because if you have that, you can calculate this. And if you want this data set with my solutions, with my formulas and all that stuff, then there's a link to download it, or you can just shoot me an email. And I'll give you my email here at the end of the video. So the only thing we need to do on this sheet here is we need to get the end of the month of the open date here, right? When did the case or the job open? So EO month, way over here, open date, comma 0. And then now you have the date. It's formatted wrong, but it is a date. And you can see, let me zoom in a little bit. You can see that these match. So what I'll do is I'll just delete this one because we don't need it. We already have it. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to get the month here. So we want a unique list of that column that we just created, right? We want to remove all the duplicates. So equals unique, and then back over here, and then click on the month, comma 0. And now you have the month. And then from here, we need to get, how many opportunities were there versus how many were fixed on the first contact. Let me just copy and paste this over. Okay, so the number of cases, because each row is one job, all you have to do is count the number of times January 31st, 2025 is in the data set, right? And do the same for February, March, April, May. So pretty straightforward. You can use the COUNTIF function. So all it's going to do is it's going to count the number of rows here, comma, if it is January 31st. And you get 163. And then to get the fix rate, what we can do, you can do a COUNTIFS on the month column, but the main column, well, they're both equally as important, is going to be, well, where are you? Right here. So a 1 here. And so you can count or sum the ones. So like if you count how many times 1 shows up, it's 3, but if you sum how many times, 1 is there, it's also 3, right? So I did COUNTIFS here. I did COUNTIF here, so I'll do SUMIFS just to show you a different formula. So SUMIFS is the same thing, but the first argument is a numerical value. We want to sum if the month is January 31st and the resolution flag is 1. But the first argument with SUMIF is going to be right here, because we're going to sum this column, comma, where the month, comma, is B. I'll just click here and go. Sometimes Excel's a little bit weird with the formulas. And so you can see 120 out of 163 cases for the month of January 2025 were fixed on the first contact, or resolved on the first contact, not necessarily fixed, because it could be a multi-day job. So to get that percentage, we just divide the two. 120 divided by 163, make it a percentage. You can add a decimal if you want, double click. And let's say we have a target of 75%. And then equals the one above it. Because the reason why you do that is whenever we create that target line in the chart, if you change it different values, then that line will automatically update. So, yeah. Okay, so now we want to create the chart here, and we're going to do the number of cases as the columns. And then the red line is the percentage, and then the black line is going to be the target. So all you have to do, go into your data set, highlight the first two, click and drag your mouse over the first two, hold down Control, and then highlight, the first contact resolution % column and the target column. Go to Insert, Recommended Charts, and then you're not going to see it here because they don't have it. Sometimes under All Charts, Combos, yeah, sometimes it's already done for you here, but in this example, it's not, which is fine. That's the whole point I want to show you. So the column is right, but the problem is we don't want 73.6%, so 0.736 or 0.75 on the same axis as 163, right? Because that's how it is right now, and you can see it's just on the bottom. So what we need to do is we need to first change both of these to align, and then put them both on a secondary axis. And now they get their own axis over here. Make this a little bit bigger. Right, let me zoom in as well. And so now you can see that the red line here is off of this secondary axis, as to where the column is off of this axis here. And you can also switch. You can have this axis as a percentage. And I'll just show you how to do that. So here, just click uncheck this and then check this. And now you have sort of the same thing, but now you can see the percentages on the left. And so I'll just leave it this way, but you can do it either way. To be fair, this KPI is, first contact resolution, so it should be this way because this is the main thing. So I'm going to double click here because I don't want the decimal. So then I'm going to go to 3 columns, number, here, 0. And then finally, let me copy the name of the chart, and then I'll just bring it over here. Perfect. And then the last thing you might want to do, and I'll zoom in just a little bit more, is you might want to have the values on the column, like certain values. So if you click on the chart and you click, the little crosshair and go to data labels, it's going to be super noisy, right? Like it's not going to make much sense. And if you want to do just one, like say just the red line, then you can click on just that line, and then you can do data labels this way. But again, a little bit noisy. You could make it work. You could maybe move some of these out of the way to make it work. But another way, and I'll show you 2 things. One, if you do like this, but you want like a background to it, so you can click on the number. And again, if you don't want the decimal, then just, click on the column here, is a percentage. So percentage, and then do 0. Then you get 0. But if you wanted to add like a background to it, you could just add a background this way, maybe make it bold, and you can do any background you want. And so that's one way to do it. And then finally, if you just want the peak, like say this, just double click and you'll see that the little square is only on that value, and then you could do it that way. And then if you want to run the low value, you could do the same thing here. And then again, you could double click to get rid of the decimal. I don't know why it defaults to that. Percentage 0. And then if you wanted a background, you could do that. Here you can make it bold. You can increase the font, however you want. But yeah, so that's how you solve this. I mean, there's a lot of ways in this data set to slice this data, because another thing that would be valuable is a heat map with the person that's handling this. Maybe it's the CSR, maybe it's the tech. But then you can see who's the outlier. Like in other words, if this is say 75% here for October 25, maybe if you look at the customer service rep, somebody's at 30% and somebody's at 95%. So you need to see what's going on with the 30% person, and you have to get more granular with that. And you can, I mean, if you these formulas. So essentially, instead of here, you would put the customer service rep name, and then in the column, instead of month, you would put the customer service rep. The formula is exactly the same. That's why I show these at a high level, and then you can get as granular as you want because you know the structure and you know the framework. But anyways, that is it for this one. If you have any questions, as always, questions at databoards.io. And if you want this data set, again, there's a link to download it. If you can't find it, shoot me an email. And then finally, if you need some help getting this data structured and organized and get the insights into your data, maybe you don't have a person in-house, or maybe they don't have time, whatever it may be. If you want to, an extra set of eyes on this stuff, then again, you can email me, or there's a link to my calendar. But anyways, that is it for this video, and I will see you in the next one.